good. I got caught trying to be really casual and being really dramatic, and I got caught in no man's land. My acting teacher used to say to me, when you're playing tennis, he couldn't play tennis, so I don't know where he got this analogy or metaphor from, but when you're playing tennis, you have to choose the front of the net or the baseline, and if you're caught anywhere in between, you're in no man's land. I don't know if that's true. Maybe someone who plays tennis can tell me. But it made sense, and it was a really good example because I've remembered it 20 years later. Anyway, what is authenticity? Now, I'm going to touch on these points. I've got my card of notes. I'm going to touch on what is pure authenticity. What does it truly mean? Because I don't believe there's really any speakers or teachers or mentors in this industry who truly understand it like I do, because I've been obsessed with this one topic for decades. What is pure authenticity? How to achieve that potency and poetic nature when you're speaking using authenticity. What is indicating when you're trying to show your audience who you are instead of being. How to use the step 1, no change of state of the Eggelton Presenting Method to achieve authenticity. And what the inner critic is doing to disable or to get in the way of pure authenticity. So let's look at this. What is pure authenticity? Pure authenticity to me is when all these subtleties and nuances that make up you in any given moment are visible and are organically there for your audience to see. Now, in any given moment, there's a lot happening in someone's face. The eyes, lips, the brows, the essence, the energy, the hands. There is so much happening, but what happens when we're not being authentic is we are trying to control or be contrived to control what the audience is seeing. We are choosing the narrative, but by acting out of integrity with ourselves to achieve that desired effect of what we believe is authenticity. So pure authenticity is when the inner critic and the outer critic are so far removed from you, they no longer play a role in your conscious mind. See, when we're in our conscious mind, we can't achieve, we're constantly, if you think about the outer critic, it is like this external version of you looking back at you and picking you apart. How are you standing? How do you sound? What are you doing with your voice? Does the audience believe you? Do you look stupid? Am I using my hands too much? As long as the outer critic has a voice that you can hear, you won't achieve pure authenticity. Now, people get authenticity confused with speaking from the heart or just being honest. Now, it is neither of those. It's literally neither of those. Speaking from the heart is getting up on stage and being unprepared and winging it and just speaking from the heart. And I don't believe that is professional, and it's certainly not world class. So it is the opposite of what I teach. Just being real, again, just being real doesn't place you into a state of flow. Just being real feels like an excuse to me to get away with being lazy on stage and not developing the tools that are actually required to operate at a world-class level. Again, the opposite of what I teach. Which moves me to the concept of indicating. Indicating on stage, and many people who have worked with me or have heard this over and over again, I'm going to reiterate, indicating is the act of showing your audience how you want to be seen. For example, you act excited because you're telling them how excited you are to be there. But are you? Or I'm really humbled by the amount of people I have in here today. But are you? Or you're really excited to present this new program that you have. But then if you were really excited about it, would you have to act excited? Or would that just not show in some unconscious, there's subtleties and nuances, would that just not give off the energy that you truly stand behind this program? Or do you have to act excited about it? Indicating the unnecessary act of trying to show your audience how you feel. So, where I started learning this was, I remember a long time ago, there was this really nice guy from Singapore, and I was working with him at a retreat. And when I was speaking to him like this, genuinely trustworthy, open, lovely guy that I would trust to work with. And when he got on camera, he completely changed, and it was frustrating the hell out of me. And I asked him, what are you doing? Because you're bugging the hell out of me. And he goes, I'm trying to show my audience, my clients, that I'm trustworthy. And I clicked. I was like, but a trustworthy person doesn't need to show that they're trustworthy. Only a dishonest person would need to show that they try to show the audience they're honest. Otherwise, you're covering it up. And this is one of my gifts when working with people, is that wherever I feel a bump in energy, I know, I can feel that you are indicating, or my clients are indicating. So wherever that bump of energy is, I can see where there is something that internally they believe they have to try and cover up. Most of the time, and I fall into this category as well, when I'm pre-recording videos, I will still, for the first 2 takes often, I will try to be a business person. And then I come back and I ask myself, I go, what am I doing? I'm trying to be like a business person. I go, Andrew, are you a business person? The answer is yes. And I go, so then why try and act like a business person? Because that is my fantasy or perception of what a business person looks like. Does it make sense? So the other thing, here's a great example, is that most people who get up and present try to act like presenters. Weird, isn't it? So we start to do those things that are our fantasy or perception of what a presenter looks like. That is indicating when we are our fantasy or perception of what we think it's meant to look like. Okay, that was indicating pure authenticity. Pure authenticity are when things are just happening automatic. Now, authenticity actually can sit beautifully in a timeline to give you an example of what happens on stage or camera. Let me explain. There is the moments leading up to being on stage. Let's use this camera. There is the moments leading up to being on the camera, and there is the moments afterwards. Both of these moments are irrelevant to what is happening now. So if I am picking from my past, I am choosing a version of Andrew who I believe I remember to be fun and joyful and the person that I think my audience needs to see. That's the foot I want to put forward. That's who they want to see. I'm choosing, and I believe that anyone who watches this video wants to see this. Do you see what I'm falling into? I'm choosing a past me to present now instead of me now, which is authenticity. Ooh. Even equally as challenging is choosing a future self or pretending to be a more enlightened, energetic, trustworthy person who I imagine in the future to be now. Because again, I cannot be authentic. I am choosing this perceived fantasy or image. And here I'm choosing from a memory. Now is how I'm feeling. Now is me. And now. So authenticity sits beautifully on this timeline if you use it as an example. The past you, the future you, and there's the now you. So when I walk on stage, quite often people will say to me, are you not going to like do breathing exercises or get excited or jump up and down? I'm like, why the fuck would I do that? When all I have to do is walk on stage and pass on my wisdom using the skills that I have practiced over and over again, so they have now become automatic. I don't have to think about it. The only thing I have to think about is the wisdom, the points that I'd like to pass on. And when you're sitting in this beautiful space of authenticity, you have this great opportunity to work or allow God to work through you. Don't let the word God scare you off. Some call it a conduit for wisdom, being in flow, whatever. But when I'm in pure authenticity, when I'm working as me, not my fantasy, not my memory, this here, the heart brain, is truly engaged. If that makes sense, just leave a comment. If that's just sense, let me know that you're here and that makes sense. If you have a mask on of any sorts, you cannot be in flow or be connected to something greater to work through you. So when I pass on my wisdom, what I'm looking for is what I already know, which is going to guide me, and what I don't know that I know, which is my wisdom and something greater working through me. So when I articulate my wisdom, it is passed on. The words, they have a potency. They feel more poetic. They have more weight to them. They just land and connect deeper with my audience. And that can only be achieved through authenticity. Not if I am trying to impress or trying to make impact or trying to inspire. I'm already inspiring. I don't need to try on stage to inspire. Makes sense? So when we achieve pure authenticity, we allow, I say this because it's very dramatic, is I allow God to work through me. Again, your interpretation of that is completely up to you. I'm not forcing that on you. Now, how do we achieve this? I'm going to leave you on this piece. The Eggelton Presenting Method was designed purely, initially, out of teaching people to just be you. Just be you is a terrible piece of advice, so I interpreted that into something tangible to help people achieve that. The other steps of the method just take you deeper into the space between the words, to be able to use the heart brain, to create your own language that you then becomes your leverage, and then expansion. But let's come back to step one, no change of state. To begin to step into the ideal potency of your authenticity. Before you get on camera and stage, you simply ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? How am I feeling right now? Are you calm? Are you agitated? Are you excited? Are you melancholic? Are you a bit down? Do you feel deep? And then don't judge that state to be right or wrong or good or bad or negative or positive to your presenting. It's neither. There is no right state. Because one day you're going to get on stage, or one day you're going to have to do your live or to teach, and you're not going to be in your perceived right state. And you're not going to be able to get there, no matter how many deep breaths or jumps up or star jumps you're going to do on the side of stage. What you want to do is authentic. And so I walk on stage and I work moment to moment from there. And what you find on stage as a public speaker is it doesn't matter what state you were in before. Within a few minutes of you walking on, if you're open and authentic, the audience connects with you and feels you. Once that connection is built, you will go wherever you will go wherever that state takes you. And it is very difficult to stay in what you perceive as a negative state when you have connection with dozens, if not hundreds or thousands of people. It's almost impossible. When that connection is being felt, and there is an energetic connection between everybody, and that is your job. So no change of state. Name the state that you're in. Describe it. Don't judge it to be good or bad, negative or positive, to your presenting, and then just begin and allow the moments to accumulate and take you where they go, and simply share your wisdom. I don't know what the wink is for. I was like that. That's what I'm going to close on. Whatever that is, dust in my eye.